And good evening, I'm Jonathan Higgins.
I'm Rich Carlson.
And I'm Danny Harmon.
And we're rail fans. And this is our first interview, Rich, on the show, the Train Aficionado show. So Welcome, Danny. Tell us a little bit about yourself. You have a YouTube channel, right?
I've got a YouTube channel. It's called Distant Signal. And I started that, I think it was 2007. YouTube wasn't very old at that point, so I started it back then because I'd been producing videos through the 90s, VHS and then DVDs after that, trying to get into that game of, hair and rail video and pen tracks and the space that those guys already occupied. I never was very successful at it because there was just so much better content out there. But when YouTube came along, I glommed onto that pretty quickly, and I very slowly built my channel into what it is today.
So how long have you been a rail fan?
Well, I've been a rail fan since my dad first walked me down to the Seaboard airline tracks near our house in 1961. When I was 5 years old.
Wow.
Just a little while.
I wasn't a rail fan. I didn't do any rail fanning in high school or in college or for quite a few years after that. I had a whole bunch of other interests. But sometime in the late 80s, it hit me again, and I really got back into it. What really brought me back into rail fanning was the purchase of a Uniden scanner that I got on sale from a service merchandise, and I discovered that there were signals on there. There were frequencies occupied by the CSX Railroad, and I just went, "Whoa, this is cool! Yeah. I gotta learn more about this." So that's kind of how I got into this phase of rail fanning that I have occupied here for the last 30 years.
So what made you start the YouTube channel? Was it just something that you were looking to share the hobby with others, or it was just somewhere to post the videos? Or?
It was really that. I had video production equipment. I don't know how familiar you guys are with video production software, but when Apple debuted Final Cut Pro, I think they did it in 1999. I bought the first version of that. I bought Final Cut Pro 1.1.
Wow.
And because I thought, if you can edit videos like this right on your computer at home, I got to get into that. And I went out and bought a extremely expensive Canon camcorder, and for the time, it was extremely expensive for me. And I bought Final Cut Pro. I bought an Apple G4 and put that on a credit card, and it took me quite a while to pay for that.
Probably still paid for it.
Probably still.
I know Rich is jumping out of his seat over there because he's had... How long have you had Mac, Rich?
1985. I've been a Mac person since the year after they introduced him. I swim in the Apple Kool-Aid. So.
Oh, me too. I drank the Kool-Aid way off. I bought an Apple IIc in 1986, which was a cool little computer that couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
Because you had to constantly change out those floppy disks in order to do it, and it had the green screen and everything, and
hard drives? What are hard drives? We didn't have hard drives back then.
Hard drives. I mean, a 20 megabyte hard drive back then would cost you something like $50,000.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
If it didn't fit on the floppy, it didn't fit on the computer. So.
I am a Mac guy also, and like my friend used to say, once you go Mac, you never go back.
Yes. Same with me. I'm running a Mac here, and I can't say enough about Final Cut. I'm sure a lot has changed since that first version of Final Cut. That's for sure.
Well, when Apple made the switch to Final Cut 10, when they glommed on to that iMovie format with the magnetic timeline and everything, a lot of the professional editors, TV editors that I know, really poo-pooed that, and they didn't want to have anything to do with that. It made it seem like a toy, and then that's when Adobe Premiere really got rolling in the marketplace. But I loved it because it was so easy and so versatile, and I just have been a disciple of Final Cut Pro 10 ever since it came out. What was that, 2008, 9, somewhere?
Something like that, yeah. I mean, you take a look at all the big YouTube channels, and they're all using Final Cut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there must be something for it,
I wouldn't use anything else unless I had to, because I'm just a huge fan of it. But, everybody's different, so.
That's for sure. So we kind of dipped into it a little bit. So the 125 AT, Rich and I talk about that radio to the point where we're out of stock on it half the time. Literally, it's the ultimate. It's an ultimate transportation scanner. I mean, it's great for rail fanning. It's great for aviation. It's great for maritime monitoring. Mm-hmm. I know we were talking before we got on the air live. It surprises me, and it surprises you as well, that there's so many people out there rail fanning without the scanner.
Yep, this is one thing that it's hard for me to understand, because, like I said when I was telling my little biography there, the scanner is what brought me into rail fanning into what it is now. The scanner is the thing that attracted me. The radio communication, the fact that trains and dispatchers talking to each other. And down here in CSX country, those trains all call the signals as they pass them. I mean, there's nothing better on earth for a rail fan who doesn't know the territory he's in or wants to know, what is trying to get the picture of what's going on the tracks at the time. When those engineers are calling out those signals right down the line, 1, 2, 3. I mean,
I'd give my left big toe for them to do that out here.
Yeah,
that's bonus money.
Yeah.
In between that and the detectors, being able to hear those as well.
Talking defect detectors. Yeah, that just blew me away. So I really got into this really early with the Uniden scanners. And when I do run up on rail fans out there in the field, and I do run across quite a few of them, and I see that they're just rail fanning with their phones, and they're on some radio reference or a Broadcastify site, listening to a scanner, or not even doing that.
Yeah.
It's a little hard for me to understand, because I just love the scanner. I love the radio so much.
Well, we like the 125 due to its tiny size. I mean, it's a powerful little radio that fits in your shirt pocket. So.
I mean, go ahead.
I discovered the 125 a few years back when I was switching in between two-way radios that I have. I predominantly use two-way radios for the rail fanning that I do now, only because of the audio. They have loud audio, and I like that, and they're kind of resistant to interference and stuff, and that's the reason I use those. But I was switching in between. I really need a radio here that'll scan all of the rail channels,
right.
And I discovered the 125, and I went, hey, this is $100, and it does everything you could ever want a scanner to do.
Yeah.
So it's a great little gadget.
And so what kind of radio do you use in your vehicles?
In my truck currently, I have a Motorola CDM 1550. Before that, I had a Motorola MaxTrack 32 channel. Mm-hmm. And that was 90s era technology. Yeah. Actually, probably 80s era. I only discovered it in the 90s. So I had that MaxTrack for a long time, and I got one of those because that's what they were using in Beaver Street Tower in Jacksonville. I went up there one day and visited the tower operator, and he had 3 of those things rack mounted. up there, and I said, I got to find me one of those. And a year later, this online service called eBay came out in
Yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah.
and people were selling all kinds of used stuff on there, and I found myself a Max Track on there, and I couldn't believe it that a private citizen could own a commercial grade radio like that.
Those were great little radios. We had those at the police department. You know, if you only needed a few channels, they were ideal for the time.
Killer little analog radios. I mean,
Yeah.
just really.
Yeah.
Great
Well,
radio.
CDMs were a huge step forward for us. We had those in our squads when I retired, and they were awesome.
The CDMs do a lot of stuff. Of course,
Yeah.
the only reason I got it is because it's got Motorola audio, and it would scan all 97 railroad channels, and you could break up into those zones. And I still love my CDM. I've got it really tuned up now with a tram 5/8 wave antenna on the roof. Punched a hole in the roof of my truck and mounted
Got to
that.
do it. Yeah.
You got to do that. I tell everybody, if you want to really have a serious scanner installation, punch the hole. Just close your eyes and punch the hole and mount that thing in there. You will
If you're going to do it right.
Yeah.
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 But that is, I mean, that's how a lot of us, get into this, get more into the hobby, is just being able to have the scanner. I mean, the thing that's the drawback from the online streams, you're running with a tape, you're running with a delay. That's one thing. And the signal that it's picking up is not near you. So you're not going to hear those local call outs. You're not going to hear those local detectors. So the best tool is definitely the scanner by leaps and bounds.
I agree 100%. 100%. Now, I do notice a lot of these folks are listening on their phones to a Broadcastify site somewhere, and whereas the delay will be up to 30 seconds sometimes from what I've just heard on my radio, they will hear stuff that I can't hear because that thing is usually, it's always on a base station somewhere, and sometimes it's with a pretty high stick, and they're able to cover a lot of territory. So they do have the advantage there. A friend of mine, Barry Baines, has a place in Folkestone, Georgia, and I think he's got a radio on that's a Broadcastify. It's on the Broadcastify network, and I think his antenna is up 50 feet in the air, and man, he just listens all over that South Georgia territory up there. But
I mean, there are some advantages to it, but there's nothing like having your own scanner with you while you're trackside to be able to pick exactly what you want to listen to and not be at the mercy of some guy with the feed.
I talk to so many people, and I see them online, on the Facebook groups and other groups. And I see them online. I said, I was out rail fanning, and I shot this train here, but I don't know what it was. I just didn't have my scanner with me.
Yeah.
And I just go, you brought your camera, but you didn't bring your scanner. Come on.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'll spend more time with the scanner than I do with the camera when I'm rail fanning.
Way more.
Like any time that, I live along the Norfolk Southern corridor that's running basically from Charlotte all the way up into past the North Carolina Transportation Museum. I'm basically in between downtown. So
that's great territory up there.
Every time I go out, even if it's to the supermarket, I got the camera in one hand, I got the scanner in the other. I mean, in case I see a heritage unit, it's my wife.
Or anything.
Anything.
Derailment, a small derailment, or any kind of an incident or anything. The Hindenburg crash. I mean, God, have your camera.
Hey, I've met some of my best railfan friends at derailments. So. Literally.
Yeah.
So, that's the one thing with Jonathan and I is Jonathan has seen a whole bunch of the heritage units. I have never seen one in person. I've seen them on YouTube. I've seen them on live streams, but he catches all those darn heritage units. I never do.
Well, he lives on the Washington, New Orleans, Southern Main line, so he's going to see them all sooner or later.
Yeah.
I can tell you the one that's evading me for years now is the Pennsylvania Heritage Unit. So right now, my dad has seen it. Today, My wife Jody saw it when she was traveling home. I've yet to see it in person. I've missed it in Altoona by an hour. It's went by in the middle of the night.
Yeah. How many times have you been out rail fanning and somebody said, "Oh, you should have been here an hour ago"?
Every time. Every time. You show up someplace, I show up to one of the hot spots, and there's always somebody there. "Oh, you should have been here an hour ago."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I should have. "Oh, you just missed it."
Yeah. If I wouldn't have stopped at McDonald's, I probably would have caught that.
Oh my gosh, how many times have you done that? How many times have you stopped for lunch, or in my case, it's breakfast?
Yeah.
I missed the 8:44 because I had stopped for McDonald's. Yeah, driving through Nebraska, and I come up. There's all these people with cameras. "Hey, what's going on? Oh, you just missed 8:44."
How about the times where it's a multi-track and you're on one side of the track and you get blocked?
Oh.
You know,
There was a great YouTube video, since we're talking about YouTube, in England. They had the Royal Scotsman, and there were hundreds of rail fans on rail side, and just they could see the steam, the smoke header coming up, and just as it's going through, here comes a commuter train. Everybody missed that train. There were hundreds of people there that missed it.
I know. That's part of I think the wonderful fabric of rail fanning is
It's happened to all of us.
It's just like the box of chocolates that you never know what you're going to get or what's going to be done to you.
Yeah. And you just hope it's not that one with that yuck in it. So we were talking about heritage units. Which one is your favorite?
Oh, well, I would have to say that Tuscan Red Pennsylvania is my favorite one that I've seen. I've seen that several times.
Oh, yeah, just take that knife in and twist it a few times.
All right. Well,
I've only seen it once in Selma, North Carolina. So, or Selma, North Carolina, South Carolina.
Someplace out there, yeah.
I did see it there. I don't know. I like all of those heritage units. Of course, some of them mean more to some folks than others do. I just like paint jobs, and I wish that there was did UP or did they ever make a Rio Grande heritage unit?
Yeah.
I don't know that I've ever. Is that?
I've seen it.
It's got a silver background, though, doesn't it?
It's got a silver and orange background. It's not a faithful reproduction of the Rio Grande paint scheme like the Norfolk Southern did. But they've done, the UP has done it for the Northwestern, for the Rio Grande, the Mopac, the Western Pacific, Katy. I actually got a cab ride in the Northwestern one, and I've seen each of the other ones, but I've never seen the Norfolk Southern one, even when I'm back east. So.
Well, there's a bunch of them.
Yes,
there's a bunch of them, and they're always fun to get. CSX has finally got a couple of them. They're not heritage units. Yeah. They're
commemorative units, or
honoring, tribute units, whatever they call them. They got a couple of really.
Well, they put a couple stickers on one of the units, didn't they?
Oh yeah, all the stickered units.
Well, the BNSF did the same thing. They took a dozen units and they put a bunch of stickers from the old mines.
And I wish, being a Southeastern rail fan who grew up in Florida, I really wish that CSX had done something like that, and at least to their big main family, L&N, Atlantic Coastline, Seaboard, B&O, CNO.
Yeah.
But I also understand why they don't do that stuff. That stuff doesn't make you a dime.
No. And it's kind of hard to compete with what Norfolk Southern has done. It's just like
exactly. Well, when and I'm blanking on his name, the former CEO of Norfolk Southern, when he did it, it always helps that the boss is a rail fan.
Yeah. So was it Stanley Crane? Was it?
No.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
I'm embarrassed.
When he did the Green Southern Railway Unit 4600, I think it was.
Wick Mormon. Mm-hmm. Wick Mormon. And he was a big time rail fan. I mean, he showed up at Streamliners for Spencer.
I wish I could have went there.
Oh, that was fun.
Yeah.
That was worth it. I mean, to see all those old E and F units all dolled up like that was really worth the price of admission there. And that Spencer Transportation Museum is something that every rail fan ought to see.
It's on my bucket list.
They do such a good job there.
Yeah, well, you're like
20 minutes away.
Yeah, you can walk there.
The funny thing, we talked about CSX, and they're running their special paint schemes. I noticed in the beginning they were running them together.
Yeah.
A lot. I mean, they weren't separated.
Yeah. Well, they and Folkestone at Rail Watch, are the annual get together we do every year, the first Saturday in April. Unless it's Easter, then it's the second Saturday. They ran the 9/11, I think it was, and the 1776 on the same train 3 times over the weekend. And one time they ran one of them as a DPU, as a mid-train DPU in there. So that was really cool. Really cool to see that stuff.
I like what the CN has done. They've taken, they've put some heritage units. The funny thing about it is there are still some original units still in the original paint schemes of some of their heritage, like the EJ&E and the Wisconsin Central. They still got units running around in the original paint schemes from those railroads.
Yeah.
They just repainted those instead of, repainting new ones.
So what is on your bucket list? Like, what places, what's at the top of your bucket list for rail fanning spots?
Well, Cajon Pass is at the top of my current bucket list. I have seen that. That was the first Pentrex video that I bought when I was my son was first born, and I bought him a railroad video that he could watch. And there was I think it was just called Cajon. You know what? It wasn't a Pentrex video. It was a Trained magazine video, because Kevin Keefe did the intro to that, and it was a great video. I must have watched that 100 times. So ever since then, I've wanted to go out there, but I've not made it. There's really lots of places. The Transcon. I really want to spend some days out there on the Transcon in between Nebraska and California. And all those places, and the northern tier up there. I really want to see some places on the northern tier, up through Washington and out through Montana and Iowa.
So you want to get out west?
I definitely want to get out west. I definitely want to get out west. And there's a place in New York that I see a guy post pictures all the time. I guess it's on the Hudson River. It's Bear Mountain.
Yeah, I've been there. I've rail fanned along the Hudson.
That looks beautiful.
Yeah, there's some really cool spots along there. The great thing about the watching CSX along the Hudson River is there's little parks, for people to sit and watch the river traffic. So I use them to watch the rail traffic because it's running right along the.
Oh, that's awesome. That sounds great. Yeah, I would love to do that.
I mean, it's not as busy on that line, but you do get a fair amount of traffic. And the great thing about it, across on the eastern side, you have all the commuter rail, and you have a couple of Amtraks that go through. And then if you got a long range lens, you can do some shots of that while you're on the other side. But you have to be on the Hudson if you want the freight. It's on the western side of the river, because CSX runs along there, and then all the passenger service runs on the other side.
Is that Amtrak on the other side of the river?
It's Amtrak and Metro North.
Okay.
It goes up the Hudson.
Love
but yeah, I mean, have you been to Grand Central Terminal?
No, haven't been there either.
Rich, have you been there?
Years ago. years and years ago.
It's one of the most beautiful stations that it's out there. I mean, it's been used in so many movies, television shows. I mean, they just recently redid Penn Station, which has got a new name now, and I haven't been there. I haven't been back up north in a while. But yeah, the Northeast Corridor, with Amtrak, especially if you're in Connecticut, Rhode Island, and parts of Massachusetts. Rich, you can testify that it's hauling.
Yeah, when I was out visiting his place, almost 2 years ago now.
Yeah, 2018.
Yeah, it was 3 years ago almost, and we're standing there on the platform, and Amtrak comes by, and it darn near sucks you into the train.
It's like 2 seconds.
Yeah, and it's just like
those Acela trains are 2 seconds. There is one place that I want to hit up there called Old Saybrook, Connecticut.
Yeah,
is that a familiar place to you guys?
Yeah,
I had a viewer on my YouTube channel say you gotta come up to Old Saybrook and watch the trains here, because this is where the Northeast Corridor. Apparently, they really open it up there.
Oh yeah, they do. And I know that you have a drone, and you use that in Massachusetts. There's the Canton Viaduct, and that's an awesome shot. There's a long viaduct. I don't have a drone, but that would be a good spot to be able to get Amtrak going through.
Yeah.
I've done a blog posts on Train Aficionado about the Canton Viaduct, and that is really cool. I mean,
that's in Massachusetts.
That's right, Massachusetts.
Yeah.
And you know what? I really think, I want to be able to, and I'm always telling Rich, I want to do rail fanning professionally. And not have to work. That'll be our job.
I want to just do this professionally. I'm sure sport fishermen think the same thing. They want
well, that problem with that is becomes a job, and that's no longer fun. Then we want to start selling scanners for fun.
I keep telling, I've had a lot of people ask me that. Why don't you just do this all the time? And I always tell them the same thing. Well, my mortgage company won't let me.
Yes, same thing here.
But
there's a few places in the Midwest that you have to start looking at. You were talking about following the Transcon through Nebraska and Wyoming. That's awesome rail fanning. But go out to some place like Rochelle.
Oh yeah, I went to Rochelle.
Oh, you've been there? Okay, yeah.
And was just blown away.
Yeah, and I was going there before they put the park there,
the platform up, and the
platform, and there were places where you could sit there, and you'd park there. 9 o'clock in the morning, you'd stay there till 9 o'clock at night, and it's just nonstop.
Well, my wife and I went to Chicago for our anniversary one year, and I said, "Hey, honey, let's take a drive out to this little town that's out to the west of the city here, and I think you'll like it." And when we pulled up there, she said, "Oh my God."
More trains. That sounds like my wife.
I said, "I promise we'll only stay a little while. I just want to see the place." And I went in, I took pictures of the park and everything. I think we stayed about an hour and saw all those BNSF and Union Pacific trains, just whoosh, 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 one after the other there. And the little gift shop that they had, and I had my camera with me, of course, and I took all these pictures, and I immediately took them back home and went to my friend in Folkestone, Georgia. Over the years, I'd started rail fanning there. It's a pretty good hot spot for the South. And I said, "Hey," his name was Cookie Williams, and I said, "Hey, Mr. Cookie, you guys got to do this here.
Yeah.
Because you've got the same kind of thing in Folkestone." Back in those days, they used to routinely have 60 to 65 trains a day through there.
Wow. Sure.
And that's when they got going building their platform there. And if you haven't been to Folkestone, it's a beautiful place.
Yeah, the only time I was there was years ago before they had the platform.
I haven't been there.
But the platform idea is getting to be more and more popular too. Ever since they started that in Rochelle, they've got one in Hometown, Illinois, which is the south suburbs. So you get a lot of commuter traffic, and it's right outside the CN yard, which was the Illinois Central yard. They've got the one with this new live cam up there. I can't remember.
Yeah, there's so many of
them. There's a bunch of them now. And it's a great place where you can safely go rail fanning where you used to be kicked out of years ago.
That's the great thing about these things. And in Georgia especially, they have built some beautiful railfan platforms in a place called Locust Grove, which I guess is probably 50, 60 miles south of Atlanta on I-75.
That's one that I want to check out.
Fantastic railfan platform there, and huge. I mean, you can hold a wedding reception in this thing.
Yeah.
It's so big. The city of Cordele just built a new one. They're just popping up all over the place. And I think these chambers of commerce and these local, visit bureaus, as we call them, have discovered the value of railfan tourism.
Yeah, well, they've got one in Deschler, Ohio.
That's another one that's on my list.
Yeah, that's I've seen that one. That's quite a bit.
Yeah, Deschler,
a good one.
What's the other big one in Ohio?
Rich and I went there years ago. I know what you're talking about.
Oh gosh,
I just can't. The brain.
I haven't.
This.
Yeah, I haven't started. I haven't rail fanned in that area, but
that's another one that's right underneath Cajon on my bucket list is Ohio.
Yeah.
Ohio is. From everything I've seen, is the killer railfan spot in the country. I mean, it's just there's so much action there.
Well, everything to go from New York to Chicago has got to go through Ohio to get there.
Go through there, yeah.
Yeah, and everything to go to St. Louis. I mean, the biggest rail centers are Chicago, St. Louis, and Kansas City. Well, they all have to go through Ohio to get there. So,
yeah.
So, being 50 years of Amtrak, have you done any long train excursions?
Longest one I've done is we took this Silver Meteor from Tampa to New York one year, and I guess the second longest one is we did Auto Train a couple of times, and I haven't done anything out west. That's another one that's on my list. I really want to do the Southwest Chief, and I want to do the Coast Starlight. I hear that is the sexiest train in the world.
Yeah. You got to do the Zephyr. If you're looking for scenery, you got to do the Zephyr. Yeah. I mean, they schedule that train to go through the mountains during the daylight. So, yeah.
And the one I still want to do the Via Rail crossing from Vancouver to, I guess, Toronto.
Right.
That's still a little pricey for me, but maybe someday.
Yeah, I did that in coach, and it was a lot of fun. But boy, that hotel room was mighty comfortable in Vancouver.
When I was done. 4 days? That's a 4-day run, isn't it?
Yeah, in a coach seat. Yeah.
I could have done it 20 years ago, but probably not today.
Yeah, I think I was about 20 when I did it, so that's
the 20-year-old body can take a lot more abuse. That's for sure.
Betcha.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a question from one of our watchers. What do you think makes for a good and interesting train video? Do you like to see the whole train or just clips with engines and special cars?
Totally depends on what you like. As we all know in this business, there are a million different avocations in this hobby, sub hobbies I call them in this hobby, from locomotives to rolling stock to maintenance of way equipment to switch types. I mean, people have their individual likes. I mean, the three of us have been talking about scanners nonstop, and we like that. I've gotten into showing the whole train or most of the whole train. I'll still sneak in a little bit of editing there just to kind of speed things up, because I'm telling you, you show a whole train during the precision scheduled railroading era, and that's going to be a long clip.
That's for sure.
We saw a couple in Folkestone 3 weeks ago that were almost 16,000 feet.
Yeah.
And,
those are pretty average for some of the trains out here.
I'm sure. But down south here, that was a monster.
You go up to Flagstaff, and there are a couple trains usually come in early evening. They'll have 4 or 5 big GEs up front, 100 cars, 4 or 5 more big GEs, another 120 cars, and then 2 or 3 at the end. And it's just like, the train's never going to end.
Wow, wait. And you got to figure that's like 2 or 3 trains in one. It's got to be.
Yeah.
Right? And that was something else I wanted to touch on, because I think that, well, I know that we're, since the advent of precision scheduled railroading, which to me just means big, long trains.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's other aspects to it, but to me, it just means gigantic trains, but fewer trains.
Right.
And that's kind of going to dictate how we do our rail fanning in the future. And, as recently as 5-6 years ago, you go out in the morning, you pack your lunch, you pack your camera and your radios and throw it in the truck and go, and you're going to hit, a series of trains, 1, 2, 3. Well, it ain't like that anymore in a lot of places. Now, maybe it still is out there, on the big lines, the Transcons and the River Line up there, and those places where they're running just 90 trains a day.
Yeah.
But in most of the rest of the country, that is over now. The trains are larger and fewer. So
well, like Joe just posted, Rochelle. It's a great place, but it's slowed down. And you're right; it's probably because of PSR. There's probably the same amount of car loads, but there's just a third less trains pulling it. So he lives in Duplainville. And Duplainville is kind of famous. It's out in suburban Milwaukee. They call it where the old Sioux meets the new Sioux. When the Sioux Line bought the old Milwaukee Road and sold off their old line to the Wisconsin Central, so now you had the new Sioux crossing the old Sioux.
Wow.
And that's a great place to go rail fanning there, too. There's a big hill that you can stand on and get some great aerial shots.
I have been to Dalton before. That was another Chicago spot that my wife and I hit on our anniversary when we were up there. And because I had bought this video called Today's Chicago Railroads, and this was about 1994. And one of the featured spots was Dalton Junction. And I said, honey, I want to go to Dalton. I want to go there, and I want to go to Blue Island because I want to see all those through truss bridges.
Yeah.
And
see, that's my neighborhood. I grew up there, so yeah. And Dalton is a great place to go. Plus, it's right in the back lot of the police station, so you got some security there.
So you're not too worried about about your own safety. That is the other aspect of rail fanning that it's definitely it's something you got to consider is safety, because the places we have to go a lot, if we're in cities, are not the best parts of town. They're a little dangerous.
Yeah,
and you really have to be watching in all directions all the time when you're there.
Yeah.
What do you think of nowadays? We have social media, and I feel like I'm just so amazed. When I was growing up in this hobby, I didn't have social media, so I was one of the few that liked trains and rail fanning. And now we've got social media. I can't get over how many kids on Instagram are involved in the hobby. I mean, I'm just blown away. That there's so many people. I mean, I belong to, I can't tell you how many groups, basically from Maine to Florida. If there's a train group, I'm a part of it. And I'm just amazed by the, where I kind of felt like, I guess I'm one of the oddballs, likes trains, but there's a lot of people out there.
That's the thing, and I really am a huge believer that social media saved this hobby, because I have been I'm a member of a couple of historical societies, and I'm pretty active in one, and one of our big concerns along about 2000, 2002 in there somewhere was the aging out of our membership. We were all getting older, and we didn't have a lot of young people coming in behind us. But social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, to a bigger degree, and I know there's a couple of others out there that I'm not on, but I know they're pretty big too. those things spread the word, and all of a sudden, the hobby changed from being these little clusters of these middle-aged and old guys, driving our old cars and showing up to these little things, to all of a sudden a bunch of young moms and dads bringing their little kids out to these events, because the little kids had discovered it on social media or YouTube or those kind of places, and they love it. And I see an onslaught of young people coming into this hobby because of social media. So I am so happy that it's happened. The internet has changed so many things, and this is just another one.
It's kind of helped it, yeah.
When you and I, Rich, when you and I were coming up, we didn't have any internet. There was no Google Maps.
No, social media was a magazine that came in the mail every month.
Yeah. That was Trains Magazine. You read what they wrote, and for the first 8 or 9 years, I was active in the hobby and a subscriber to Trains Magazine. I thought Chicago and California were the only places where they really had trains. Yeah, because that's the only place those guys ever wrote about.
Yeah, and that's how I discovered one of my favorite spots in the whole world was Burlington, Ontario, because it was a Trains article that said the best train watching spot in Canada. I'm going through the magazine thinking about where am I going to go on my next trip, and I said, "There's where I'm going." Nowadays, I just start looking on the internet.
I discovered the same thing. I discovered Callahan, Florida, the same way. Mm-hmm. It was a hot spot in the back of Trains Magazine one year, and I said, I'm going to slip off there and check that out. And that really brought me into a whole new world of rail fanning right there. So, but it's the internet that's made the difference. The fact that you can do so much research and get so much input from other people. And I now have a bucket list over here in my iNotes that I keep on my screen all the time, and if measured in real inches, I'm sure it would be 5 feet long. Because every time I get a comment on my YouTube page or I get an email, you need to go see this. I put it in my iNotes and I just keep it because that's
one of these days you're going to go there.
Yeah, one of these days I'm going to get there.
Yeah. So we got a message from Jim. Asked if you were just a spectator on your last video at Folkestone. He said all he said was very cool at the very end. I saw bits and pieces of that video, but I didn't see the whole thing. Jonathan, did you?
I started watching it, the other day, and it was awesome to be able to see it from the point of view of the rail fanning taking place versus being the rail fan there. You were observing the whole event.
Well, that's what I usually do at Rail Watch and in Folkestone is, there's so many people around and there's so much going on that one year it just dawned on me, I'm not going to shoot the trains here. I'm not going to try and get in front of people and shoot the trains because that's what I do all the time. I want to just show the people who are here and show what's going on. And I've done that 4 or 5 times now. And it's not as popular as some of my other videos because I always put music with them because I don't want to write any dialogue. I don't want to write any narration because that just takes too long. I can cut one of these together with music in a day. And a lot of people... I get a lot of comments from folks. Oh, all that music just ruins the sound of the trains and stuff. And it's like, I'll get to that next time. But I just wanted to show you what this event was, and just wanted to show you some of the people who were here, and that's why I do those things.
Yeah, well, put the music on the left channel and the train on the right channel, and then they can choose what they hear.
I can't do that because that would break up the stereo phase. Then and that would wreck the whole production.
Yeah, Rich is not a production guy.
So. No, I'm not. I'm a practical guy, not a production guy.
I come from a background in radio television, and I totally get, you don't want to do. It's all right. Rich gives me a hard time all the time. It's all right to give him a hard time every now and then. But yeah, I just feel like, social media, I just couldn't get over, when I launched the Instagram account for Train Aficionado, I couldn't get over, how many kids are in this hobby. I mean, the other thing, along with social media, they may have an iPod or a tablet, or they may have a smartphone, and they've got this piece, whether they're shooting still photography or video, and they're able to upload it instantaneously. I have my Nikon, what is it? D5600, I think, is what I have now. And I have it so it has the Wi-Fi connection. So I can take some photos. Let's say a heritage unit goes by. I can have it up on the account within 5 minutes after it goes by on the account, because it'll connect via Wi-Fi from my phone to the camera. I mean, technology is crazy. I mean, Rich, you had 10,000 photos.
Yeah.
Digitized. And can you imagine?
Digitized my slide collection.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
Yeah. And I'm still sorting through them all, trying to get them, but
technology is improved. I remember when I first entered into this hobby, and Rich, you took regular film photography.
Yeah.
You didn't know how it came out.
I had an Argus C3.
And you prayed it came out decent.
Yeah.
No, that's the thing that I think that whole feeling, that memory, that culture that we lived through of buying film and shooting film and processing film and getting it home and looking at the prints or the slides and going, missed it by that much.
Yes.
Yes. And
I could have gotten 36 pics. I only got 36 instead of 37, and the last one was the best picture, and you only got half of it.
And you didn't go out there and just hold down the shutter and let it go by and get.
No, it cost you $1 a picture back then.
Yeah. I mean, every time you squeezed the trigger, you were spending money, and you just didn't do it.
My buddy Jim used to call when they first started getting the auto winds on cameras, he called them the film wasters.
Yeah. Well, a friend of mine used to. He got one of those. Had a motor winder, and he had one of those Canon. Can't remember which model it was, but it would do a trio of shots, a bracketed trio, where it would open the iris and then close the iris and then drop the iris in a negative thing, or you could do it with the shutter as well. I think you could change the shutter speed too, and it would go, but not that quick. It would be, But nowadays, a kid with an iPhone 12 can shoot stuff that would look great on the cover of Life magazine for people.
Yeah. I mean, there was a movie or a TV show one day where it was filmed entirely on an iPhone. And you couldn't tell the difference between that and Gone with the Wind.
Yeah,
so
it's just stunning at what those guys have done.
Yeah. And of course, when you're with the old film cameras, as soon as you ran out of film, that's when the good stuff came.
Of course. And the day you thought it was going to be a Kodachrome 64 day, that layer of clouds would come in, and all of a sudden,
oh man, where's my 400?
Come on, I didn't bring any 100. I didn't bring any 400.
Yeah.
Man.
So I'm happy those days are over.
Yeah,
me too.
The kids these days have it so easy,
Well, they have their own challenges. A photographer, a videographer friend of mine that I worked with for many years in the TV business, he said, once you learn your camera, once you don't have to think about your camera, that's when you start shooting good video.
Yeah.
Is when you don't have to think about what you're doing with your camera, because you know it all. You are experienced on the device. And he's so right. Was so right about that.
So what are you using to shoot video these days?
Oh, I'm just shooting with a Sony. Let me show you if I can reach it.
This is so cool.
I'm shooting.
Well, behind the scenes with distant signal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm shooting with a Sony.
Mm-hmm.
This is a AX 700. Shoots 4K, and it's it's a camcorder.
Yeah.
It's not a DSLR. It's just a camcorder because I still like camcorders. And I have this big old Rycote pop screen on it that is over the pop screen that came with it. And I put the Rycote on top of it because wind noise just drives me nuts.
It's like double masking.
Oh, gosh. Wind noise just drives me insane.
Yeah.
And when you stand around an intermodal train that's going 60 miles an hour past you,
you're going to get a
breeze
lot.
on you.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's what I shoot with. And it shoots, it holds two SD cards in it, which I like. So you can shoot all day or all weekend on the thing. And it's just a great little camera.
And then you started doing stuff with the drone. Which is your what type of drone are you using?
Still shooting with the DJI Mavic 2. I'm sorry. I'm shooting with the Mavic Pro. There's the Mavic 2 Pro now, and that's I don't have one of those. But the Mavic Pro that I have, I got it in 2018, and my company sent us to drone school because they wanted some drone operators in the company, and I went up there and they were shooting with these Mavic Pros, and I had already had a Phantom, which is that white one, that big white one that you used to see all the time, and it wouldn't do anything. It was a drone, and you had to buy a gimbal to go on it, a 3D gimbal that would hold a GoPro. And then you had to buy the 5 gigahertz microwave downlink transmitter that you stuck on it with with Velcro, and then you had the receiver on your iPad, and hi caramba, that was a rig.
Yeah.
And they finally figured all that stuff out and slimmed it down, and I'm still shooting with that Mavic Pro. Knock on imitation imported wood here. I haven't crashed it into anything yet, so.
I mean,
there's still time.
I mean, there's so much. I mean, that's the other thing. I mean, the technology is endless now. I mean, you go out rail fanning with your still photography camera, your camcorder, your drone, your iPhone. I mean, I mean, the tools of the trade for being able to document what you see is endless.
The best camera to use is the one that you have.
Yeah, that's the absolute best one to use.
Yeah.
But I take a lot of stuff with me when I go rail fanning now because I'm just a Boy Scout. I'm when it comes to that. I really believe in being prepared because there's always going to be something come along or happen or something you're going to need during the day. So I just bring it all with me, and I know my wife thinks I'm going to the moon when I leave the house. It takes 3 or 4 trips for me to put all the stuff in my truck, between my tripod and my camera bag and my drone and my drone accessories, and then my 2-way radio bag that I have.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you sound like me.
Yeah. So what's the furthest you've gotten before you realize that you forgot your wife?
Oh, never done that. Never done that. Now, I have forgotten the tripod once, and I've never forgotten the camera.
Yeah, I don't know which is worse, forgetting the tripod or forgetting the wife.
Well, let me tell you, it would be the second one in my house. That would not be a good day or week following there. So,
oh man, but yeah, I carry my camera. I have everything in the bag. I use the 125 AT, and I also use a portable 2-way radio as well because of the sensitivity, the louder sound.
What radio do you use? What 2-way do you use?
I'm using the Anytone. Rich, do you know off the top of the head the model number?
Yeah, it's right here,
we both bought the same radio, Rich and I.
And
this is a great little
radio for rail fans.
Oh,
Anytone
I've seen
878.
those. Yeah.
Yeah. They're dirt cheap. They work really well. They have great audio, and they're very selective and very sensitive on the railroad band.
Anytone.
Yeah, made by Anytone. Yeah.
And you know what? Because we're not transmitting. Well, at least I'm not transmitting on it. The battery lasts forever.
Yeah. That's the other thing. Right now, I am. Hold on here.
Show and tell.
Right here next to me. I'm running a Kenwood NX210.
Yeah.
Great radios.
Which is kind of the big brother of the NX200 that all of the CSX people carry. I don't really know why this is any better. It's just bigger, and it doesn't do anything that the 200 doesn't do. I'm not sure what the deal is on it, but I programmed this with all of my railroad frequencies in it. And no transmit channels. I never transmit, so I don't even program the transmit side in it. And this battery will last all day because of that. That's one thing that I really like, and the fact that
I first started rail fanning with two-way radios. I had a Motorola MT1000, 99-channel MT1000 on VHF, and I just programmed it. Channel 7 was railroad channel 7, and when they said go to channel 36, I just boop, boop, boop.
Yeah.
And I rode the Amtrak from Chicago to Denver on one battery.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's just, I could go with the Anytone battery. I could go weeks with that. Like if I'm rail fanning here and there. The reason why I carry two radios is I use the 125 AT for the service search to discover new channels. And then on the Anytone, I'm monitoring two channels at the same time, typically the road and the dispatch. And, so I'm monitoring the known channels on the two-way, and then I'm using the scanner for service search to be able to find new
research.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I always carry my 125 AT always in the bag for that very reason. That, and I started using it for EOT for use, because I listen out for EOT chirps.
I do that too.
Territory. Yeah. So I've got a dual band ham radio in my vehicle. I'm a ham operator, and when I'm doing that, I'll have on one side the EOT and on the other side the road channel. Then I'll have a scanner going through all the channels.
Well, I'm glad to hear your ham, because it looks like, just from looking behind you, like you need a few more radios.
Yeah, I'm trying to tell my wife to let me buy some more, and she just won't let me.
Yeah.
I actually did add a few additions, so some of this stuff is new to me anyway. They're old, but they're new to me.
Yeah.
There was a comment.
Cool
the 210 has got upgraded internal electronics.
Is that it? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for that. I didn't know what the deal was. I just got it. Again, I bought it on eBay. It was brand new. And I thought, I'll get the 210. That's got to be better than the 200. Well.
So the Anytone is the 868.
And they've came out with new ones.
Yeah, there's newer versions. I think the 878 is the newer one. But this one is the D868 UV.
Do you guys sell that at Scanner Master?
No.
We sell the 125 when we have them, but we bought these on our own.
I hear that Bearcat has come out with a new radio that's kind of in the 125 genre, the SC30?
SR30C, yeah.
Was that it?
Yeah, that replaced the older Bearcat 75 XLT. It's it went from 300 to 500 channels. It doesn't have the text tagging that you can put on 125, and it also doesn't do PL and DPL, which is not really an issue with rail fanning.
Yeah, the 125 AT is still just having the alpha tag display.
Yes.
It's simple to program. I still highly recommend it. We have on our other show a gentleman that's working with Bearcat. He sometimes periodically pops in, and he keeps assuring us we're not discontinuing the 125 AT. We're not discontinuing, because we talk about it so much during that show.
It was so hard to get. Right.
Would you guys do me a favor? And the next time you talk to anybody with Uniden or Bearcat, and that for that company, ask them if they would ever consider building a scanner that was really customized for rail fans. I know that's a real narrow market.
Yeah.
But and not just the frequencies, not just the frequencies and stuff, but really improved audio.
Yeah.
Because scanner audio traditionally is not the loudest radio in the room.
Right.
And if they could build something that had the audio power of of a Motorola PR400 or a one of these Kenwoods, or one of the older Motorola's.
We've both
That
made
would be
suggestions
so awesome.
about transportation scanners.
Yeah. I mean, we heavily, we're in the ear right now of them, and it's a market to be tapped, certainly.
Yeah.
Because we carried for a number of years at Scanner Master, we carried a railfan package, which was the 125 AT. It had a carrying case. It had the VHF antenna. It had the.
I almost bought that one time. I remember when you guys carried that. I had to buy a gift for my wife instead, but
yeah. So I basically created this package. We sold. I want to say hundreds of the package.
I'll bet.
And I would create a custom directory, depending on where the customer was located. If they were in the Northeast, they would get the New England states. Would be basically a printed thing from Radio Reference, for the frequencies. And it just was a great package. For getting back to kind of talking about scanners, for a rail fan, it's not your primary hobby. It's a tool in the toolbox, essentially, for you to be able to get the job done. I just can't say enough about it. About having a scanner out there. Since we're approaching the top of the hour, I just want to say hello to everybody that's just watching us. This is Train Aficionado Live. We air the first Monday of every month. We have Danny Harmon on as our guest this evening. So definitely hit the subscribe button. If you're watching us for the first time, you will be doing, of course, our live videos each first Monday of the month. And we're definitely going to... I can tell we're definitely going to have Danny on again. Yeah. I mean, this is awesome.
Just let me know. I am so with you guys if you ever want me back. This is
fun. We definitely...
Oh, yeah. Well, we got another question from the viewers. CSX Railfan, which I bet you I know what his favorite railroad is. He asks if you've you ever used ATCS.
No.
Okay.
I've had a lot of access to ATCS, and I'm very close friends with two guys who set up the CSX ATCS network in the South. But I used ATCS, when I had access to it. Basically somebody else's rig, I guess, or when it was online. But then when CSX went satellite, when they stopped their terrestrial code line, they stopped using 900 megahertz code line, it was like, and honestly, I didn't want another hobby. That was pretty complicated stuff for me. And I had a friend who had 2 Motorola Max tracks and a rack in the back of his station wagon. And those things were constantly back there going, with that code line that they used. And he had a big flat screen laptop there, on his dashboard, and it would show them all up. It's a cool thing for rail fanning, but I just never got very deep into it because it's just like another thing.
When I lived in Chicago, I used to host a couple ATCS sites and to go into the nationwide servers. And I know a couple of the guys that were really into it. And it is a great thing. And Jonathan, you're using Train Monitor, which is kind of an offshoot of that,
Train. Right? Well, actually, it's a part of it. So basically, it's a web edition of ATCS. It's Train Mod 5. And my line here, basically from Atlanta all the way up to somewhere in Virginia, I don't remember because I basically monitor this section. You can track the trains. It's great for heritage units. Do you use the heritage unit app when you're out and about for tracking the train?
No,
yeah,
I don't. I've heard of that, but I've never even checked into it. I probably should.
Yeah. So, I mean, if somebody reports something, and it's relatively recent, I can pull it up and say, okay, so there's the train, and I'll watch it as it gets closer. I mean, it's kind of rail fanning cheating because you can look and see, is it busy out there?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to go out there. Is it slow?
That's kind of what I used to joke about my friends who used to use ATCS. I said, it's kind of like fishing with dynamite.
Yes.
All's fair in love, war, and rail fanning, though.
You're absolutely right, Rich. You're absolutely right on that. I think I was just always jealous because those guys figured that stuff out, and I just never had the patience to do it. Now, over on the FEC, they have, I guess it's a little bit of a different system. Are you familiar with the ATC or the FEC, Jonathan, over the Florida East Coast Railway?
No.
Over on that, somebody has a site where they receive all the ATCS info, and it pops up a new PDF picture of the screen every couple of minutes. So you're not actually looking, when you log on, you're not looking at, you don't have to have that program where you see all of the lines and stuff.
Right.
It's not doing it on your screen. You're just seeing a picture of their screen. It's a still picture, but it's very cool because the information is there and it's current. And I thought that was an excellent way to do that. So once in a while I'll cheat and do that because FEC is they're pretty fun to chase.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. Like I've been out with my dad, and I say, the track, a certain track, is restricted. It's blue. So I know there's a work crew out there. And then, hearing, and then the crazy thing about the web-based Train Mod 5, I hear the dispatcher communicating, all right, I'm going to align you the route. And then I watch seconds later, it's green. Like, okay, there it is.
Yeah.
She's a coming.
Yeah, it's like being in the dispatcher's office. So
Yeah.
That's nice.
I mean, I never had this up in the Northeast, with, for the most part, Amtrak, I saw so much Amtrak, I was living in Attleboro, Massachusetts, so I was right along the Northeast corridor. So I was seeing, I seen it all the time, and it was rare for me to see freight. We watched some of these rail fanning cameras, and Amtrak rolls through, and what do we see? The numbers of viewers goes through the roof to see Amtrak, and I'm like, I want to see the freights. I've seen enough. I've seen enough.
I live in Arizona, so I'm watching the Flagstaff camera, and there'll be 30 people watching it, and then at 9 o'clock, 9:30 when the Amtrak is supposed to come through. Now all of a sudden there's 600 people watching it. Yeah.
You betcha.
And it's the same thing. Yeah, it's two F-42s or P-42s, 6 coaches, and if you're lucky, a baggage car.
But it's a passenger train.
Yeah.
And that is just that's a whole different level of cool. In railroading. You can say what you want about Amtrak. You can be a fan or not a fan or stuff, but passenger trains, there's freight trains and then there's passenger trains. And that's what the attraction of Amtrak is. There's a guy on YouTube, he rides Amtrak, and he does like 24 hours on the Silver Meteor or 24 hours on this. I can't think of what his
I've seen his videos.
Channel name is, but he's really good. He really does a good job, and he just gets thousands of hits in his first couple of days on those things. And it's really just a train ride. Here's we're passing through this, through this, and they served us this meal in this plastic box, and but people love that stuff.
Oh
They absolutely love it. So that's still really one of the high romance factors of rail fanning is the passenger train.
Well, one of the best experiences I had is my buddy Jim and I were up in the Burlington area, Ontario, Toronto, Greater Toronto area, and we were going to go to Far East to see the Cartier and the iron ore roads up in Quebec and Newfoundland. And one of the guys that we were there said, "Don't drive up there. You'll be wore out. Take Via to Quebec City and then rent a car in Quebec City, and then it's just a 3-hour drive instead of driving we did it, and the guy said, spend the extra $25 on your train ticket and go into first class.
Wow.
And we did. It was only $25 extra, but this is back in the 80s, which was a little more money back then. But, oh, God, the food was on china with, metal silverware, champagne, and it was just... Oh, this was awesome. And they're giving you souvenirs, chrome-plated rail spikes with Via on them. And it was just like...
Oh, I know. Yeah. That must have been just awesome. And I tell people this all the time. Even mediocre food tastes so good on a passenger train.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm sure that was very good food, especially...
Yeah, it was actually very good. It was on the way out, it was... some sort of strip steak or something like that, and on the way back it was steak and potatoes, cube steak. So
Amtrak used to have really good food.
Yeah,
a buddy of mine and I took the Sunset Limited from Jacksonville to Pensacola one weekend. We spent the night in Pensacola and caught the returning eastbound train back to Jax. It was 9 hours late, but
of course.
We did catch it, but we had food on there, and this was in the 90s. Well, this was in 2004, and the food back then was really good.
Yeah,
and service was really great. I mean, when they are able to do it, when they have their resources, Amtrak can really do a good job.
Yeah, they do. But it's it's unfortunate right now. A lot, most of the long distance trains are only 3 days a week. Although I understand that they're working on getting it back to daily service. So that'll be nice.
I can't believe it won't be too much longer, because I know there's a lot of passengers that are just really chomping at the bit to.
Oh yeah, I think AutoTrain is the only one that stayed daily.
That's their most popular train, I think, by far. I mean, every time I've only ridden it twice, but every time I've been around it or checked into it, it's always been.
Yeah,
almost loaded or almost fully loaded.
I actually had tickets on AutoTrain years ago, and the train got canceled because of a hurricane.
Wow, yeah.
It's like, great. So
So, seeing the youth that's out there that's coming into this hobby, being a fellow veteran of this hobby, what would you recommend to somebody coming into it?
As far as getting started in it?
Getting started in it.
Well, I think the thing is to learn your territory. Learn your territory first, because rail fanning, we all know rail fanning is chasing maps. It is chasing track. And knowing where things are. I mean, you've got your ATCS where you can tell where that train is, and you can tell if it's going in that siding, or if it's coming on through, or if it's got a green signal, if it's lined all the way. But you still got to know where those places are on the earth. Yeah. That you can see them on that straight line on ATCS, but that doesn't really tell you much if you don't know where those places are. So I recommend to people learn those maps, learn where those railroad places are. Where the ends of sidings are, where the junctions are, those things. Learn the timetables, learn the subdivisions, the subdivision names and those things, and that'll help just immensely, because when I first started doing this, it was so frustrating to hear these trains getting an absolute north block in the Dixie and such a block, and so I don't know where that is. I don't know what that is. I don't know where that is. And I only happened upon the block sign one day when I was passing through and said, oh, There's the Dixie block.
Yeah.
Hey, that's a Dixie block. And everybody else in the car is going, okay, that's a Dixie block.
Getting a railroad timetable, man. That's like gold.
Yeah. I mean,
that is the Rosetta Stone. And I tell people, get those employee timetables. And I always got mine at train shows.
Yeah.
Same with me.
I don't know if there are better places to get them now,
Well, nowadays you get them on the internet, and some of them you can get pretty easily. Some of them are a lot harder to get. So.
Some of them you can download online. There are places that there are websites that have a few of them. So if you do a little digging, you can find these timetables and download PDF versions of them.
Yeah.
Which if you just keep in your phone, then you don't even have to print anything. But that's the other thing I carry is a bag full of maps with me all the time. So that's a fifth bag that I carry.
Yeah. Some maps are better. Some maps are really good. Like some of the state highway maps are really good because they have the railroad lines and they identify them, at least by the name of the railroad.
I used to live by the Florida Atlas and Gazetteer, it was called. The big atlases, big size atlases. There were books.
Oh, I got them.
And they made one for every state, and they still make them.
Yeah.
And you can get them at truck stops. You can get them at Buc-ee's or Love's or any of these places. They still sell them.
You go to DeLorme up in Maine, and they've got the entire collection there.
Oh, God.
And I spent
there
hundreds of dollars in that place.
I could believe it. Those were $30. Those were $30
like
30 years ago.
And some places sell them where they've laminated them. They take them apart, laminate them, and put them back together again. So they're water resistant. You can mark on them with an ink pen or with
I would love those,
with a grease pen.
I'll bet I've been through 4 of those things.
Yeah.
For Florida.
Yeah.
Made my own.
Look at that.
Yep. So what I've done is I've taken a lot of some of these employee timetables and then taken some of the information and then added additional information.
Me too.
Yeah, and that's the best thing. I mean, being able to create. This is a project that I'm working on for the website. I can actually post this. So we can
you're pulling that up. Les says he'd be glad to carry your bags for you.
I will give you a call, Les, when I start getting a little bit older. Because there will come a point in time where I'm not going to be able to pick this stuff up anymore.
So
this is another thing that I got a hold of.
Oh, yeah.
This is the other Rosetta Stone here, is the signal indications. You can get one of these for Norfolk Southern. You get them for CSX. I'm sure BNSF and UP have them. On the back, it's got all the descriptions of what those signal indications are. This was already laminated when I got it, and I've managed to pick up 5 more of them over the years at train shows. And,
just being able to.
Says, what are you buying that for? You've already got those. And I said, but you never know. You never know.
And that's the great thing about knowing the signals as well. You're going to be able to see. Okay, there's something. Like if you're not hearing a lot of radio chatter on the radio where they're not like up here, they're not identifying, and you see the signals changing. Okay, there's something's going to be coming, and be on the lookout for it. And that's a huge help.
Do they not call out their signals up there as they come through?
No, it's kind of unusual for CSX, does it?
Well, because on the GS&F, which is the Georgia Southern and Florida district of the Norfolk Southern, that runs from Macon, Georgia to Jacksonville, runs Macon, Valdosta to Jacksonville. They do call out the signals there.
Yeah.
And I don't
it
know
might be on based on the union agreements that were from the predecessor roads. They may still require that. They don't do that here on the BNSF or the UP out here. They didn't do it in the Midwest for the most part.
I've heard from friends of mine that rail fan out west a lot that BNSF and UP maintain radio silence.
Yeah,
and they are.
You got the detectors, and you and on the Phoenix line where I'm at on the BNSF, they get track authorizations and put the train orders out.
Oh well, that's handy too.
Yeah,
if you know where that stuff is. But I have heard that the BNSF detectors that don't even talk unless there's a problem.
Right. Well, some of them. It depends on where you're at. The ones out here, they talk all the time, and other ones are set up so only there's a talk on defect. So
that was the other thing that really attracted me to this hobby when I first got in it, because those CSX still had those old Seaboard Coastline talking defect detectors everywhere, and they beeped when the train hit them. They sent out a tone when the train hit it the first time. And then after the train counted axles and counted cars and counted length, then it would report. And some of those were old physical recordings that were playing on tapes.
Yeah.
And it was so much fun to listen to those, because it would be some, older sounding guy with this big, deep voice, CSX, equipment, defect, detector, milepost 592. It took him forever to get through that.
Yeah, and there's some guy cutting tape and splicing tape.
I don't know how that system worked, but it worked pretty well. But that was so great because you could hear all the details. You could tell the speed, the length of the train, the number of axles, and
the temperature.
And sometimes the temperature. Sometimes the temperature, the ambient temperature of the area. So it was really cool.
Yeah,
but
we get that out here too because if the temperature goes over, I think 105 degrees or something like that, they have to decrease the speed of the train for rail kink.
Yeah.
And when I was in Chicago, if the temperature was below like 0 or 5 below, they had to decrease the speed or decrease the length of the train because of the air hoses.
Really? I did not know that.
Yeah. Cold weather. You live in Florida, so you don't deal with that kind of stuff. But in Chicago, 0 degrees is, that's a warm day in December.
Wow.
But for the railroads, it takes a lot longer for them to pump up air, and air hoses are a lot less reliable in the cold temperature. So they have to decrease the length of the train or decrease the speed of the train when it goes below a certain temperature because of that.
I never even knew there was such thing as a switch heater until I went on my first rail fanning trip to Atlanta, Georgia. So
yeah, we used to get that call every winter that the tracks are on fire outside my house. No, ma'am, they're not.
I'll bet. I'll bet that was spectacular at night.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we had a double crossover right in my little town, and they had the diesel fuel track heaters, and gets cold or snowy, they pop those up, and every time we get a call.
Wow.
It's so crazy, I just, we do have the detectors here, and occasionally, depends on the crew, sometimes they will announce the locations. Mm-hmm. I know Amtrak, which runs the train service in North Carolina, the local train that runs basically from Raleigh to Charlotte, those crews will announce a location, which is great. So I know when they're coming up. But yeah, I just started because I've got this in my backyard. I just started putting together a little bit more of a detailed thing on the website. Just with the mileposts and what type of photos you can get, east and westbound. Actually north and south in this case. Just being able to see locations, because I noticed the other thing that I follow some rail fans, and they get stuck in the same spot all the time, and you can only get so many shots in that one location.
Tell me about it.
So I put together this to give people, okay, these are somewhat safe locations where you can be on public property and take photos and get some different angles. Just looking at this Charlotte City view, which is right at a railroad crossing, and there's space to pull off and be able to snap a photo.
Yeah.
I've done this, for this line, and I haven't posted it yet, but I do have what I pulled off the wall, which I got to finish the trackside guide. But that's the thing. I've done one for Altoona as well. And just same thing, giving people, as you probably know, rail fans like to watch trains, get something to eat. So I even put on here some suggestions for some local restaurants to check out.
Oh, the Pizza Vito's Pizza and Oh, Chris. Oh,
Yeah,
God.
see,
Have you been to Vito's?
And I've done no, I haven't.
Oh, you got to go. When you
Where
go
is it?
next, it's in Crescent in Pennsylvania. The next time you go to the Curve, you got to go over to Crescent. It's up the street from the inn that you stayed at.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you sit there and you can watch the trains and
Vito's?
eat the best pizza on the
Vito's.
planet.
Oh, I'll definitely put that on the list.
Yeah. And put that in your eye notes.
Yep.
That is so on my list now.
And you know the other thing that I mentioned and we've talked about before on this show, when you're in Pennsylvania along the corridor here that runs through the Curve, Sheetz. It's a gas station, but the food is phenomenal. And
Wait. Now, I know you have Sheets up there, but we have Wawa in Florida.
Yep.
And Wawa is apparently the people who were the Sheets, but on the other side of the Alleghenies, apparently. Right? Is that what it is?
I think
Could
so.
be, yeah.
Could
Because
be.
they're just as big as Sheets, but they do the same thing. They have the best sandwiches in the world. And when they first came to Florida, I'm thinking, yeah, gas station sandwiches, probably not eating that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And then through some broadcasting work that I did, we did some work with the Wawa people, and I went, whoa. Ooh, I think Subway's going to have a problem from now on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
You got to know where the best
went
junk
into a
food
Sheetz
is to
up
be a
there
real fan.
on our way to Crescent that time. That was the first time I'd ever been to any of those things, and I was
Yeah.
blown away by their food. I really
Yeah.
was.
I mean, it's a great thing. You know, these gas stations like Wawa's and Sheetz are great for rail fans. You can fill the tank, fill your tank,
Yeah. And drain your other tank.
and drain the. You do it all.
And most of it's road food, you know? And
Yeah.
that is food, I call it road food because that is food that you can eat while driving down the road at a reasonable speed between 60 and 90 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And either eat it with one hand and drive with the other, or eat it with two hands and drive with your knees.
Yeah.
Because we all know, and Rich mentioned it at the top of the show, there's nothing worse than being stuck in a McDonald's or Burger King drive-through and hearing that train call out the signal where you were going to set up.
Yeah.
15 minutes earlier. That has happened to me so many times. I can't even count them anymore. But road food is really important. That's why I pack a lunch a lot of times now, because I just don't like stopping.
Well, that's why Coleman invented coolers,
Yeah. I mean,
Yep.
And the other thing that drives me nuts, and it's happened a couple of times rail fanning when I first moved down here. I'd be trackside for a couple hours and I won't see anything. I get on the highway, drive off. What do I hear? The detector go off. I'm like,
As soon as you leave. Yep.
Yep. And I'm far enough away that I can't turn around and go back to get it in time.
You never see it.
No.
Never see it. It happened to me in LaGrange, Georgia, back in January. I went up there specifically to check out the area because I hadn't been there. LaGrange, Georgia, and over in Alabama, Opelika, Alabama. It's where the Southern and the CSX cross. And they have a coal tipple that's still standing there. And I got plenty of video of that coal tipple, but no trains.
Yeah.
And as soon as I left town, I hear defect detectors going all over the place.
Oh yeah.
So that was another learning experience. And I usually hate learning experiences.
Well, if you ever get out to Wichita, Kansas, there's a nice tiny little railroad museum right there in downtown Wichita. They got a Santa Fe F-45 there and stuff, FP-45. But a block away from the railroad museum is the Coleman Museum. Every Coleman
lanterns,
Coleman lanterns and coolers. Yeah, that's where their original factory was. Fascinating place.
Oh my gosh, I will so hit that. Oh my gosh, I'm a Coleman nut.
Yeah,
I love all the Coleman. My dad used to own every Coleman product there was, I think, because if you went camping, that was the brand you had to buy.
Yeah.
It wasn't anybody else.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, it's a Coleman Museum in
Coleman
Wichita.
Museum in downtown Wichita, Old Town Wichita. Yeah.
That is so cool. I love that. There's also a electric sign museum somewhere in Ohio that I want to go see. They've got a full-sized old Holiday Inn sign. You remember those, Rich? You know, that look like the Christmas tree?
Yep. Yeah. With the arrow on it. Yeah.
Just like being in Las Vegas. You could be in the most desolate one-horse town in the country, and if they had a Holiday Inn, it was like Christmas time.
Yeah. Holiday Inn. That was the place to go. You knew it was going to be a nice, clean room back then.
Those big signs. It was just so cool.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Let me just see here. This is a question here. You ever go, I've taken dinner, lunch, trackside. I mean, I've had...
That's all I do. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yep. Yeah. I have a pickup truck, so I put that on the tailgate. I've had pizza in the back of my truck.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, pizza is the best rail fanning food. You can order a pizza online if you know the place that you're going to. You order it, you pick it up, you pay for it. If you can pay for it, on the phone, that's even better. You pick it up, you take it with you, and then you can eat that all day.
Yeah.
Out of Rochelle, we used to have it delivered to the Diamonds.
Yeah. They do that in Folkestone too, all the time.
Yeah, I do that at Flagstaff. When I go to Flagstaff, there's a pizza place, really good pizza, about a half a block away from the depot. And I'll walk across the street, grab some pizza, and bring it back and sit in the car.
Yeah, see, I'm the same way about barbecue. I love barbecue, and I try to find the best barbecue place in every town that I go to, because I know that I can pick that up and bring that back to the tracks and sit there and eat it at my leisure. And wear a raincoat so that you can... Well, I try not to eat it in the truck because I know it'll be all over my shirt.
Same with me. Well, it looks like we are...
that Neon Museum is inside the old Cincinnati Union Station. Says one of our...
Is that it? No, I don't...
No, maybe a different one.
I think this is a different one. This is a big place.
Yeah.
I'll have to look it up. I've got it in my notes somewhere. This is the Sign Museum of an America. Let me tell you, it's actually a Gatorade bottle. It's a Gatorade bottle. That's got the right size opening. Gatorade half a liter bottle. That's that was the best for that. And let me tell you, here's another secret. Don't ever pick up one of those along the side of the road and drink out of it.
No.
Not a good idea.
See, I live out in the desert, and it's not unusual to see gallon jugs of water on the side of the road. And, because, but you got to be careful. Make sure the water is clear instead of colored. So.
I had a friend in college who used to run in the summertime. He would run one of those roadside mowers for the State Department of Transportation that dragged those 2 and 3 gang mowers behind him.
Yep.
And he said when you would hit one of those bottles that the truck drivers threw out, that would just make it into an aerosol, and sometimes the wind was coming back on you. It would be pretty nasty.
Well, on that note,
my little happy story.
So, Danny, tell us where can people find you on the online?
They can find me on YouTube at youtube.com/distant signal, as one word, distant signal. You can email me at railfandanny@gmail.com. And you can find me on Facebook, but that's probably not the best way because I don't check that very often. But I always check my Railfan Danny email, and I always read the comments in my YouTube comments section. So
cool.
There you go.
Right. Well, I mean, this has been awesome. I want to definitely have you back on. And since I'm in North Carolina and you're in Florida, we definitely need to meet up.
Yes,
I mean,
sure.
I love barbecue. So, I mean,
well, you can't live in North Carolina.
I know.
Barbecue.
Yeah.
I know that Carolina people like to put slaw on stuff, but still, it's really its own unique flavor, and it's really good.
There's vegetables and coleslaw. It's no good.
Oh, it's a thing. It's a thing with the Carolina folks, and it's pretty good once you get used to it.
Jim is asking, are you still working on your DPU video?
I am slowly but surely. I'm going up about a 4% grade on that one because of some things that I have learned about the industry and the whole distributed power technology, and they're not particularly forthcoming about sharing that information.
Yeah.
Leave it at that. But I am working on that video, and I'll get it out in some form. It may not be the in-depth insider expose that I was planning on, but I am working on it.
Cool.
And thank you for asking.
Do you have anything coming off the pipeline that you want to share, the video-wise, that's coming out soon, or?
I'm working on another question and answer video, a frequently asked questions video. I've got it almost done. I was working on it just before we went on the air with you guys tonight on how railroads decide how they're going to get empty cars to customers. A guy wrote me a couple of months back and asked that question, and I thought, that's a good question. Probably no one ever talks about that because nobody ever thinks about it.
Yeah.
And I thought it was kind of a good question. So I went to a friend of mine who used to work in CSX car management, and he was a wealth of information about that, how that works, how the AEI car tags work, what those are, what the trackside scanners are, and how they work. And I'm getting close to finishing that now. So that'll be hopefully coming out this week.
That is awesome. I can't say enough. This has been a complete joy to have you on, and we definitely want to have you on again. I mean, have you as a regular guest host on here, I would be excited, just to have a different point of view. I mean, basically, I've rail fan the Northeast. Rich, you've done all that part of the country. Having somebody down in your neck of the woods would be awesome.
Well, I would be happy to come back anytime you guys say. I've just enjoyed sitting here watching Rich's radios behind me.
The funny thing about it is before showtime, I gotta go and start turning all the volume levels down.
Ay, caramba, that probably took you a while.
Yeah, it does take a couple minutes.
Like a dozen scanners there behind you. Is that what I count?
Well, there's 16. There's 20 in this rack. There's 5 here. Actually, 7 here. Those are just a display on that one, and then a bunch of other radios. So
the Associated Press listening post in Nicosia during the Operation Desert Storm when they used to listen to Baghdad Bob.
Yeah, it's a lot of searching. A lot of those are just using for searching, so looking for new stuff. And you can listen to it all on that. Yeah, well, I spent years as a police officer, a firefighter, and a dispatcher, so I'm used to listening to multiple radios at the same time. So it's pretty easy for me to figure it out. But like I say, most of it is out there searching for new channels.
Yeah,
cool.
and I have my scanners are in front of me, unlike Rich, where they're behind him. I have not as many as Rich in front of me. I have a total of 7. So I do have a lot in front of me, but not as many. It helps to work, for Scanner Master and also beta testing some of these radios. I wouldn't have half the radios if I wasn't part of a beta testing.
I didn't pay for most of these. I worked for most of them. A lot of times what I would do is I would write an article. Instead of getting paid, I'd get radios. So. Yeah.
I was going to say, do the stores that used to own them know that you didn't pay for them?
Well, that's why I do all my shopping at 3:00 in the morning.
Next time, if you guys don't mind, I would like to talk a little bit about antennas.
Mm-hmm. I
am a little bit of an antenna fan. I'm not very knowledgeable in it, but I'm a little bit of an antenna fan, and I like talking about antennas, and I like to share with new rail fans how important a good antenna is.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people think in those terms or even think it's possible, but antennas are so important.
Oh yeah. Well, we deal with that quite a bit on the Scanner show, and we've discussed it a little bit on the Railfan show. But that'll be a great topic for other show too.
Yeah, having the great thing about our hobby is if all you're listening is to the railroads, essentially, you just need an antenna tuned to that particular band, and that's going to be going to be a huge help. I mean, most scanners, when you buy the 125 AT out of the box, it has a wideband antenna.
Right.
So it's okay on everything. Versus a tuned antenna, it's going to be really good on that particular band that it's made for, and then it won't work so great on the other bands. But if that's the band you're monitoring, you want it to work the best right there.
Exactly.
Yeah, and like Dale says, drill the hole. I think we've said that earlier today. Drill the hole.
Yeah.
Punch the hole. Your sheet metal won't care.
Yeah.
And the next buyer of your vehicle won't care either because you won't tell them.
Yeah. And they won't see it anyway.
Especially if you got a truck.
Yeah, they won't.
It makes all the difference in the world. Trust me.
Yeah.
Let me do a couple of final slides before we head out. So we want to make sure you stay connected with Train Aficionado. Make sure you follow, like, and subscribe to our social media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and, of course, YouTube. You're watching us right now on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button. You can sign up for the Trackside Bulletin on our website. We periodically send an email. It's not every month, and we're not sharing information. So your information will be safe with us. We also want to remind you of this Wednesday show, The Scanner Guys. We're going to be talking about the perfect shack. Not quite the extreme shack that we see behind Rich. It's going to be, like if you've got one or two scanners or a couple of scanners, how to create the perfect shack without breaking the budget. I mean, that's the thing. You've already invested so much money in radios. We're going to give you some tips and tricks to be able to create the ideal shack, dress it up, straighten it up a bit, and you can catch that on the Scanner Guys YouTube channel as well. So good stuff there. Train Aficionado Live, we're back at you next month, Monday, June the 7th, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific, live. We are going to do a week of traveling. There's going to be a crossover episode in between Train Aficionado Live and the Scanner Guys. Dale, I know you're listening out there, Dale Osborne, mentioned this on the Facebook page, and we're going to run with it. So basically on Monday, you're going to be learning about rail fanning with a scanner or traveling on a train with a scanner, what you need to know. And then on the Scanner Guys, road trips with a scanner. What do you need to do? What equipment do you need in the car, and so on? So it's going to be a really cool week of travel with Rich and myself. So we'll take you on a virtual trip, I guess, Rich.
Yep.
I just
we're gonna have fun with
subscribe to
that.
your channel too, so you got one more subscriber.
Oh, cool. Thank you so much.
I'm so watching you guys on this upcoming show Wednesday night. So
yeah, we really appreciate it. We thank you so much for joining us. Is there anything else that you want to parting words before we sign off?
No, just be safe out there. Remember, 30 feet from the tracks. Any closer than that is dangerous. So 30 feet from the tracks at all times, if at all possible.
Cool.
Yeah.
Words to live by.
Stay safe out there.
Yep.
Well, I'm Jonathan Higgins.
I'm Rich Carlson.
I'm Danny Harmon. I've been happy to be here.
And
Thanks for being here.
We'll definitely have you back on again real soon. So have a good night from all of us, and we'll catch you again next month in the Train Aficionado show, and then next Wednesday for the Scanner Guys show. Good night.